Hello, welcome to episode of the Bubbs on Sports podcast. Today is Tuesday, July 4th. Hope everyone's having a good day so far and had a good rest of their day yesterday. It is, in fact, Tuesday, July 4th today. Happy 4th of July to everybody out there. Exciting day ahead. Obviously, always an exciting day during the summer. 4th of July, the birthday of this great nation, the greatest country in the world. And it's awesome to obviously, friends and family, barbecues, all that great stuff. So today is obviously always a lot of fun. You got baseball on today as well. So an exciting day ahead. We've got a lot to get into today on the program. We're going to get into last night's win for the New York Yankees as Harrison Bader with a big 3-run home run in the bottom of the 8th gets the job done for the Yankees. Clay Holmes comes on in the 9th and gets the big outs for the New York Yankees as they get the job done and get a big win to open up this 4-game set. They will continue the 4-game set today with game number 2 today, 1:05 Eastern, for a little 4th of July matinee baseball in the Bronx at 161st Street, Yankee Stadium. So looking forward to that, getting ready for that today. That's mainly what's on tap. We'll also get into the Mets and the Diamondbacks. They'll begin their 3-game set today, and the Mets also begin a 6-game road trip today to close out the first half of the season. 3 against Arizona, then they'll start 1 in San Diego, a 3-game set starting on Friday to wrap up the first half of the season. It has been a wild first half for the New York Mets. It's been one that I don't think many Mets fans like or hoped or expected. But at the end of the day, if you find a way to maybe play 500 baseball or go 4-2 over these next 6 games, you go into the break feeling at least somewhat decent, where over your last 9 games, you would have been, 6-8 or no, it would be what? If you go 4-2, you would be about, 7-3 over these, or 6-3 over these last 9 games. So if you can find a way to do that, we'll see what the Mets can do. We'll get to that later on as well here on this 4th of July show. We'll keep it short and sweet. Get this up and out there. If you're interested in watching, definitely go check it out. Appreciate all the support, and enjoy the rest of this great 4th of July here today. Great weather in the tri-state area, so definitely looking forward to enjoying the day and watching some Yankees baseball as well. So we'll start off with last night's game for the New York Yankees. And obviously you go into last night's game with a couple big storylines. You're coming off of a road trip. We'll start here. So you're coming off of a road trip where it was pretty disappointing for the most part. You had the perfect game from Domingo Germán, which was great. It was awesome. It was awesome to watch. It was, obviously a perfect game. I don't have to describe how cool it was to sit there and watch a perfect game. I don't. We all know what a perfect game means. We all know how hard it is. We all know the last one was in 2012. The last one for the New York Yankees was in 1999, David Cohen's perfect game. The year before it was David Wells, and then back in 1956 it was Don Larson. So after that, outside of that moment, on Wednesday night of last week against the A's, it was all in all a pretty disappointing road trip. I mentioned this on my Bubbs Talking Bronx Bombers podcast that I do, recapping each series for the New York Yankees. I also mentioned it coming on the show yesterday as we got set for this 4-game series between the Yankees and the Orioles, and obviously the 7-game homestand that will conclude later this week against the Cubs going into the All-Star break. And you went into the series and you said, you know what? Find a way to just split this series. Find a way to go out, split the series. I thought realistically have at least a 4-3 homestand. Maybe you go 5-2 and sweep the Cubs because the pitching matchups against the Cubs are pretty favorable. You've got Rodon coming back. You got Cole in game 2 of that series. And then obviously to wrap up that series on Sunday, you'll have Germán again. So you go into last night's game, Domingo Germán's on the mound. And you really start to wonder, okay, what are you going to get out of him? Because again, it's funny when you look back on guys' starts after their perfect games. Like, we've seen this before with players. Well, they'll go out, throw a no-hitter, they'll throw a perfect game. They come out the next day and they get absolutely crushed. I don't know if you remember correctly, but I think it was Reed Detmers last year of the Angels. I think it was last season. Threw a no-hitter. And I believe his next start out, he was like terrible. And then I think he actually ended up getting optioned a couple weeks later. Like his next couple starts were just really bad. He was on the high of a no-hitter, and somehow teams just figured him out, could never get back. Some nights you've got your best stuff. Some nights you look like the best pitcher. You go out there, the next day, 5 days later, and you struggle. So I was interested last night to see how Domingo Germán fared coming off the perfect game. It was his first start since the perfect game. How would he fare? How would he perform coming off of, obviously, a legendary moment and a moment that will go down not only in Yankee history, but MLB history as the 24th perfect games, first since 2012 King Felix for the Mariners. And I didn't think he was terrible last night, but he definitely wasn't perfect game Domingo Germán. He definitely didn't have his best stuff. All in all, he went 4 1/3, 9 hits, 3 runs, 2 earned, no walks, 5 strikeouts, 86 pitches, and 57 strikes over those innings, and his ERA bumps back up to 4.52. So didn't have his best stuff. It wasn't his best outing, but kept the damage to a minimum. Only allowed 2 earned runs over 4 1/3. Pitch count kind of got in his way. Wasn't efficient. He threw 99 pitches in the perfect game. Yesterday, he threw 86 pitches, not even able to get through the 5th inning. So wasn't as efficient, didn't have his best stuff, but left the game with the Yankees having a chance. Even though the Yankees couldn't put up any runs, he gave them a chance. He gave them an opportunity. He had them in the game. They were down 3-0. Like, if you can't come back or you can't compete or you can't at least put some pressure on the Orioles with a 3-0 lead, then your offense was just flat out bad that night. So he did give him a chance to win, and the Yankees took advantage of it. And we've talked about this so many times in this podcast. We've got to also give credit to the bullpen, because the bullpen, yet again, after Jimmy Cordero struggled against the Cardinals in the final game of that 3-game set on Sunday, where he goes out, lets up the 3 home runs, lets up the 2-run shot to Brendan Donovan. He comes into the game. It's a 2-1 Yankee deficit. Comes out. The Yankees end up losing that game 5-1. The bullpen struggles, but still, this bullpen this season has been the best in baseball. And yet again, yesterday, Nick Ramirez coming in, limiting the damage, taking over after Domingo Germán was efficient. 1 2/3, 23 pitches, threw strikes, 16 of those, and had 2 strikeouts. Ian Hamilton coming on, getting the job done. Tommy Kahnle. I don't think we've talked about Tommy Kahnle enough with this Yankee team. I just don't. I mean, this is a guy that's kind of just flying under the radar this season and has been phenomenal. He's been great. And sometimes that's the unfortunate reality of relievers. Like, you talk about relievers when they're struggling, and you don't always talk about them when they're doing good because they're kind of hidden. Like, they can go out there and throw shutout innings. You don't really fully notice, right? Unless if you're a closer and you're just dominant every single time you go out there to close. But if you're like a mid-reliever and you're going out there and just shutting guys down, you don't always fully notice, because in the grand scheme of the game and whatever the offense is doing, whatever the rest of the pitchers are doing, it's sometimes tough. But, like, we have to realize Tommy Kahnle, through 13 games pitched so far, he has thrown, since returning, 12 2/3 innings, and he has yet to allow a run. To put that into kind of to show you what he's done so far. Last year, he pitched 13 games with the Dodgers. In that span, he had a 2.84 ERA. He allowed 4 runs in that span. This year, same innings, 13 games pitched, and 12 2/3 innings, he has yet to allow a run. 15 strikeouts over that time, 2 walks. The K to walk ratio is unbelievable right now, 7.5. I mean, since coming back, Kahnle has been dominant. He has yet to allow a run since coming back. His ERA is still triple zeros. So he did his job last night. Clay Holmes came on and, for the most part, was a relatively easy save for him. Worked a 1-2-3 inning. I thought, again, with a 6-3 game, Bader's home run makes it obviously a 3-run shot. It makes the situation for Clay Holmes a whole lot easier. And that's where we shift into here. Pitching last night, Domingo Germán wasn't great, but he wasn't terrible. Wasn't perfect game Domingo Germán, but you didn't expect that. But then you go into that 5th inning where the Yankees find a way to get 2 runs. They knock across 2 runs in the 5th. It was 3-0 for the most part. Then they knock around 2 runs in the 5th. And here we go again. Anthony Volpe has just been great recently. Since the chicken parm dinner in Watchung Hills, New Jersey, back at his home with Austin Wells, Double-A, obviously catcher, one of the Yankees' top prospects, exciting young name in the system that one day will probably be playing in the Bronx and is probably the future of the catcher position for the New York Yankees. Saul Volpe was struggling at the major league level. At this time, he was below the Mendoza line, was struggling. They made some adjustments, and since that point, Anthony Volpe is on fire. Anthony Volpe has just been dominant recently. Hits the home run, and then Higgy hits a home run. So Volpe and Higashioka, the home run stroker, go back-to-back in the bottom of the fifth to make it a 3-2 game, right then and there, Yankees were right back in it. And Volpe yesterday, again, another 2-hit game. 2 for 4, 2 runs scored, an RBI, obviously the big homer. The batting average for Anthony Volpe is all the way up to 225. And I say this because Anthony Volpe, you go back to, and so far this month he's hitting 467. The 4 games he's played this month, he's hitting 467. The 4 games the Yankees have played this month because he's played every game. But you go back to that Mets series, back on June 13th. That was when he made that adjustment. He went into that Met game batting 186. He made that adjustment going into that game. He came out of that game batting 191. Since that point, he has taken his batting average from 186 when he made the adjustment, and he's now batting 225 on the season. His slash line overall, 225, 298, 398, 696. The OPS is almost getting up to the 700 range. The on base is getting a little higher, still not crazy high, but it's getting better. You know, the on base for a while there, got ugly. It was in the 260s. The on base was bad. It is now just a slight below 300. The slugging's almost at 400, which is really solid. He's got 11 home runs, 30 RBIs, and add on to that, he's got 16 stolen bases this season. This is what Anthony Volpe can do. We are getting it every night now. I think it's funny because us Yankee fans, we aren't used to this yet because, he's struggled this season, so we weren't fully used to this production from him. But you're getting this every night. This is his potential. This is what he can do every night. This is why he was the top prospect in the Yankees organization. Just imagine a future for the New York Yankees that includes Oswald Peraza and Anthony Volpe up the middle. I mean, that's pretty exciting. So then Volpe scores on Yennier Cano's on Cano's wild pitch, which was in the bottom of the 7th. He scored on that. LeMahieu then went to second, I think, on that wild pitch. Went to second on the wild pitch. Volpe ended up scoring. That was the run in the 7th. So you go to the bottom of the 8th, and Cabrera gets on base. Rizzo gets on base. And then, Bader comes up to the plate. And again, Bader just dominating again. 2 for 4 last night, 3 RBIs, the big home run, 3-run shot in the bottom of the 8th. Yankee Stadium erupted. I wasn't at the game, obviously, but watching the game on TV, probably the loudest I've heard that stadium this season, maybe since opening day when Aaron Judge went yard. That stadium went crazy when Aaron Judge went yard on opening day. Maybe that was the only other moment. But other than that, this Yankee team at times this season, despite them being 26-19 at home, there hasn't been those signature home moments quite, yet for the Yankees this year. There's been a couple of them, but there hasn't quite been that signature one. Bottom of the 8th, bottom of the 9th, down 3 runs, big home run. Bader did that last night. Bottom of the 8th, steps up there. Rizzo, Oswaldo Cabrera on base, hits a big 3-run shot, no doubt about it, down the left field line. Yankees take the 6-3 lead. And I go, look, he's going to be a free agent in the offseason. I don't know what Harrison Bader's future is with the Yankees. I don't know if he's going to be here. I don't know if they're going to move on from him. I don't quite know what's going to happen. He's a free agent at the end of the year. I would like to bring him back. You don't find too many center fielders of that caliber defensively. You just don't. Nowadays in baseball, everybody's so worried about, and maybe I'm a little wrong about this because there's still a ton of great defenders in baseball, but the way the game is changing now, especially at the catcher position, teams don't value defense as much as they used to. Teams just don't. They value home runs. Can you give me power? Can you come up in big spots? And they don't value defense as much as they used to, especially at the catcher spot. And you can make the argument too, just about anywhere in the field now, teams at times don't value defense as much. You look at the Yankees last year. If the Yankees really valued defense last year, they wouldn't have made the trade to bring in IKF and Josh Donaldson. Josh Donaldson's good defensively, but they wouldn't have made the trade to make IKF their shortstop if they really valued defense. So Now, the Yankees do value defense when it comes to the catcher position. And maybe I'm reading into things too much, but to get a legitimate center fielder like Harrison Bader on your team, I mean, it's special. Like, you don't see too many of those guys now. It's hard. It's hard to find a center fielder that is that good defensively and offensively. It's tough. I mean, he's a platinum glover. He's that good. He's that dominant. To get an outfield tandem of Aaron Judge and Harrison Bader, 2 Gold Glove outfielders, 2 guys that can provide some big pop in the lineup, that's a rarity. And something with Bader, too. I mean, this is a guy, he's batting .261. This isn't just a guy that hits for power. He can hit for contact, very good runs in scoring position. And again, I talk about this all the time. There are guys in New York sports, Joey Gallo, Aaron Hicks made his return last night to Yankee Stadium as a Baltimore Oriole. And look, I can care less about Aaron Hicks' success in Baltimore. I really don't. It wasn't going to work here. I know there's still some Yankee fans that say, oh, they should have never got. No, give me a break. Aaron Hicks stunk here. Good, he's fine, he's good on the Orioles. I really could care less. Couldn't care less. I don't care. Aaron Hicks was back last night. They booed him. I don't care about Aaron Hicks anymore. He's gone. He was terrible here. He was embarrassing. He's with the Orioles. He's doing good. Good for him. I really don't care. But, like, he was an example of a guy that didn't do well in New York. Joey Gallo was an example of a guy that didn't do well in New York. Sonny Gray. There's a ton of them. Some guys shy away from the bright lights. Some guys love the bright lights of New York. Harrison Bader is a guy that loves the bright lights. He loves being in the spotlight. He loves being in the big moment. Last night was another example. Last year, he basically put the Yankees on his back during the postseason. There's a good chance they don't even get past Cleveland if Harrison Bader isn't on that team. He batted over .300 last year in the postseason. Producing for the Yankees in the postseason is very hard. Producing for the Yankees at all is very hard. Harrison Bader does it. The injuries are the biggest concern, but I'll tell you what, it's moments like last night where I say to myself, man, I hope he's back with us next season. I really do. But I understand the injuries are a concern, and it'll be interesting to see what the Yankees do. I don't know. That's discussions you'll have in the offseason. But he's a local kid. He's a local guy. Loves the city. Loves the team. Grew up rooting for them. Like, it's awesome. He's living out a dream, and he's so good. So, Harrison Bader again last night with another big Yankee signature moment. Probably one of the best moments of the season. I mean, obviously, Domingo Germán's perfect game is the best because it's a perfect game. That's really hard to do. But that Bader's home run last night was right up there. Judge's catch in L.A., I know it damaged his foot, and now he's out because of it, or his toe, but now he's out. But you look back on highlights of the season, that catch is going to be right up there. And look, Bader's a winner. And I saw this stat today from Connor McGuire on Twitter. And I knew the winning percentage was big, but I was trying to look for, scrolling through Twitter, looking for some numbers. And I was trying to look for, kind of just looking around. And I saw this number, and it's exactly what I'm looking for. So since Harrison Bader was acquired on August 2nd of 2022, last year's trade deadline, for Jordan Montgomery, obviously. The New York Yankees have a record of 36-16 when Harrison Bader is in the lineup. That is a .692 winning percentage. People don't, we oftentimes talk about how bad the Yankees are when Judge is out of the lineup. But I don't know if people before realize, too, how good the Yankees are when Bader is in the lineup. And this was a guy there when Judge and Bader were both out. Obviously, Judge is still out, but even earlier in the season as well, this lineup really struggled. Bader gives you a whole nother level of pop, speed, athleticism, defense, gets on base, contact, provides pop, does a lot. He does a whole lot. And he's a winner. And when he's in the lineup, the Yankees win. I mean, they do. The numbers show. So, Bader continues to rake. Bader continues to do his thing with obviously the big home run last night. And, the Yankees get the job done 6-3 in Game 1 of a 4-game set. And was obviously a really big moment there for the Yankees last night. So, when you look at this here, the Yankees today, this afternoon, it's currently in a rain delay, I believe. We're about 20 minutes out from when the game's supposed to start. So, I don't know when quite the game might start, but we'll see. We'll see how it all plays out. So, the Orioles got Kyle Gibson on the mound today. He comes into today's game with an 8-5 with a 4.66 ERA. He's got 96 and 2/3 innings pitched, 102 hits, 50 runs, 50 earned, 31 Ks or 31 walks, and 74 strikeouts. The Yankees got Clark Schmidt on the mound today. He is 3-6 with a 4.37 ERA. His numbers across the line here: 82 and a thirds innings pitched, 91 hits, 46 runs, 40 earned runs, 26 walks, and 79 strikeouts this year. The Yankees are rolling out this lineup for tonight's game: Anthony Rizzo, Gleyber Torres, Stanton, Bowers, Bader, Volpe, IKF, Oswaldo, Trevino rounded out. Your infield is Trevino catching, Rizzo we have first, Torres at second, IKF at third, Volpe at short. And your outfield from left to right: Cabrera, Bader, and obviously Jake Bowers will be in right. So Oswaldo gets to start in left, Bader obviously in center, and Bowers will be out there in right today, this afternoon for the New York Yankees. They look to get game 2 of this series. If you can find a way to take game 2 and just find a way to win one of the next 2 games, you take 3 of 4 against Baltimore, you got to feel good about your chances. And you look at the standings right now for the New York Yankees. They are 47 and 38, 9 games back. The Orioles are 49 and 34, 6 games back. Yankees take 3 of 4. Again, I don't want to get greedy. It's 1 win. And Orioles are talented enough, and I don't want to sound negative either. The Orioles are talented enough to take the next 3 games. They just are. But you take the next 3 games, or you take at least 2 of the next 3. I don't think we'll sweep the Orioles. We're not going to sweep the Orioles. I would hope to be wrong. I just don't see that happening. I think the Orioles will at least take 1. Probably, most likely, they probably take 2. I think the Yankees will probably split the series. That's what I said. That's my expectation. That was what I said. I would love to take 3 or 4, especially after last night's win. It looked for a while there we were going to lose that game. To come back and win it, you kind of stole one from the Orioles in a way. Like, you hit off of their best bullpen guys. Like, Yanier Cano is an all-star. Felix Bautista, I know he obviously wasn't out there, but he's an all-star. Like, the Orioles have one of the better bullpens in all of baseball. To hit those guys was big. Hit Cano was big. So, to get the job done like that is huge. We'll see, obviously, how they do these next 3 games, but you can get within 1.5, 2 games of the Orioles here going into the All-Star break, and then you get a favorable series coming up against the Cubs. You do. So these next 3 games are huge for the Yankees. And the Orioles coming out of the All-Star break, and I mentioned this, I want to say this too. The Yankees coming out of the All-Star break, like, not that their schedule's favorable, but they've got the Rockies coming out of the All-Star break. Rockies are horrible. They've got the Angels, who are good. Then they've got the Royals, and then they've got the Mets. That's like their first couple series. Mainly their first 3 series are the Rockies, the Angels, and the Royals. Like, you should be able. There's a really good chance you sweep the Rockies and the Royals. Like, those should probably be 6 wins right there. At the minimum, 5. You should at least sweep one of those series. The bare minimum is 4. You got to come out of with the 2 series wins there. The Orioles, on the other hand, they come out of the All-Star break. They've got their work cut out for them. They've got to play the Marlins for 3, a good Marlins team, 12 games up on 500, and then they've got to play the Dodgers, and then they've got to play the Rays in Tampa for 4, and then they've got to play the Phillies. So, and then the Yankees later on in the month. So, the Yankees get a favorable schedule coming out of the All-Star break. They do. The Orioles do not. You get the Dodgers. You coming out of the All-Star break, you got the Marlins, the Dodgers, and the Rays. 3 playoff teams. Yankees coming out of the All-Star break, get the Rockies, not a playoff team. They get the Angels, who right now currently aren't in the playoffs. And then you got a Royals team who is, record-wise, the second worst team in all of baseball. You get 2 of the 3 worst teams in baseball. Rockies have the 3rd worst record. Royals have the 2nd worst record. And the Orioles got the Dodgers, the Marlins, 2 wildcard teams right now, and the Phillies, who are a game out of a wildcard spot, and the Rays, who currently, I believe, hold the best or the 2nd best record in baseball, only behind the Braves, who are 57 and 27. So that's what I'm saying. Like, last night's win was huge. You kind of stole a game there. You could take 3. You could take at least split or take 3 or 4 here. I mean, there's a good chance the Yankees within the next 2 weeks could potentially jump the O's, especially that series later on this month. That'll be another big one. So we'll see. We'll see how it all ends up playing out. But today's game's definitely big as well. So obviously, as I mentioned, Schmidt versus Gibson today For the Mets, they'll visit the Diamondbacks. They open up a 6-game road trip to end out the first half of the season. And 3 beginning here in Arizona, and then 3 against San Diego. You got Kodai Senga on the mound tonight. He's 6-5 with a 3.53 ERA. And the Diamondbacks have Zach Davies on the mound. He's 1-4 with a 6.54 ERA. That'll be 4:10 Eastern in Arizona for the New York Mets later on today. And, that'll do it for the podcast here today. Everybody enjoy their 4th of July. A quick podcast here, about a 25-minute one here on the show. Over these next couple days and even to next week, I plan on starting up some NFL stuff as well. It is July 4th. I know we're not quite towards the NFL season, but I plan on starting up some NFL topics. I want to take a look at kind of go around the league and take a look at top 5 quarterbacks in football, top 5 running backs, top 5 receivers. I'll look at top 5 offensive line tandems. I'm not going to look at top 5 centers, top 5 right tackles. I'm going to look at top 5 offensive lines in football. I also plan on doing top 5 defensive lines in football. Again, not single player, but team-wise. Top 5 linebackers. Look at some of the best players in football and really kind of rank them from 1 to 5. And then look at even I'm still planning on top 5 safeties or just general top 5 secondaries. I plan on just maybe doing top 5 secondaries as well, because that'll be safeties, corners all included. I feel like that's probably better than breaking it into 2 different groups. So I plan on doing that. So I might start that tomorrow. We'll see. I'm kind of just figuring out the whole scheduling aspect to see how many days it's going to take and different topics and stuff like that. So I potentially could definitely do that tomorrow. Obviously, see how it ends up playing out. But stay tuned. Get a little bit more NFL content as well coming your way. And obviously NBA, NHL off seasons are in full swing, so we'll keep you up to date on that and anything else that happens in the world of sports and obviously baseball as a whole. So enjoy your day. Happy 4th of July. I will see you all back here tomorrow. As always, hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.